welcome back to Total Spotfest. JJ Brownlee, Jamie Faulkner, and we have a very special guest with us today. Please welcome the last bar fighter, Mr. Austin Reddick.
Howdy.
Greetings, bar fighter.
Thank you. Appreciate y'all having me on.
For those of you who've been following us for a while, you might remember Austin. We had him on before. He was featured on an episode we did with the Not So Newlywed Game with him and his wife, another wrestler out there, Heidi Howitzer. So it's good to have Austin back. Austin just by himself this time here. So the boys are going to just shoot the shit today. So howdy.
Yeah, it's boys
night.
Not out. My
Woo-hoo!
wife is on the other side of the planet, so.
Indeed she is. We'll talk about that here momentarily because we got a lot to talk about. There's a lot going on, especially in Japan, if you know what we mean. So
it's been a busy week in wrestling.
Very busy, very busy. But thank you for watching. Thank you for listening. We do appreciate you guys giving us some of your time. As always, you want to join the conversation, hit a comment down below or hit us up on Twitter at TotalSpotFest. So. Jamie, how have you been?
Healthier. Last time I was on, I was not feeling so fresh, so took a whole bunch of meds. Actually, I didn't have to take too many. I drink a lot of orange juice, which was nice. And then I took maybe some ibuprofen every now and again, but yeah, that was good. But it sucked for like 3
last
days.
10 minutes of the show. I don't know if you listen to it, Austin, or not. The last 10 minutes of the show, Jamie was fading fast, and he was actually leading the segment. So I'm just like,
I know. I was like, I had to do one of these numbers and cough a whole bunch of times, and I was just like, man, fuck it.
You don't have the cough button like I got right here, man. My fancy little setup.
I ain't got shit.
Boom. All right. Well, Austin, thank you for joining us. We actually got to see you this past week at the final Journey Pro show.
Yeah. Sad to see Journey go, but it was a fun night.
It was. You took a stunner from the wife, though.
I did. And there was a lifetime supply of Guy's Tasty Mix on the line. Although the fine print is that it was only valid for the lifetime of Journey Pro. So we left with like 2 bags.
That sounds like God.
We still got it. And that's yeah, she might have pinned me, but I still get the Tasty Mix because it's coming home to the same house. So
exactly.
Still a win in my book.
You couldn't lose. You had a 50-50 chance, really, in the 4-person scramble. Let's be honest.
Right.
Yeah.
But you know what? She got the win, but I ate all the Tasty Mix, so who really won that exchange?
I mean,
are you a fan of the cheese balls in it?
Yeah, actually, and I'm not normally a fan of cheese balls.
Oh, really?
Like they're fine. I don't hate them or anything, but like they're fine. I'm not like a fan of super cheesy like processed stuff like that.
Okay.
But yeah, the cheese balls and the Tasty Mix go hard. Those were delicious.
They are fantastic.
So here's the thing. Like I like them because I'm like, oh, this is like a blast of flavor, but it's like I can only take so many of them because they're so strong. Like I have to like, pretzel it up and all that other shit.
I think that's why I like the Tasty Mix though, because like you can grab a handful and get some other shit in there with it, and then like it breaks up the cheesy flavor and you're good to go.
Yeah, but they are fire.
I'm still trying to process this that both of you and I. So what about Cheetos? Y'all do Cheetos?
I like the flaming hot, like the thinner Cheetos. I don't like the puffy ones. I think that's why I don't like cheese balls either. It's like the big puffy kind of stuff isn't really for me. But yeah, the flaming hot, like the little skinnier Cheetos, I'll smash those all day long.
Have you ever had Planters cheese curls?
I have not.
Oh, yeah.
Love me. They brought them back. So they brought back just the cheese balls, but now at Hy-Vee by me, they have the cheese curls in a little blue tube, little can, and they're like Cheetos with a little different cheese flavor, but they're a lot thinner than Cheetos. So
I'll have to give those a shot. Yeah,
give those a shot.
I remember I can fuck with that.
See, that was always my go-to munchie in high school when I was doing illicit things that are now legal in half of the nation. It was always
not Missouri anymore.
Not Missouri anymore. Almost. You got a month there. But I give big thing of Gatorade, like a Snickers bar, and a can of cheese curls because they always had the break time by my house. And I get cheese curls, and the cheese curls are the best. So I love cheese snacks. I'll do cheesy puffs. I'll do cheese balls, cheese snacks. I'll eat cheese by itself.
I'll eat cheese by itself.
Hot take time. One of my favorite snacks, which I get made fun of, and I guarantee you we're going to talk about wrestling here, folks. I promise. One of my favorite snacks is Oreo cookies or like chocolate cookies. You know, I've been doing these chocolate brownie cookies, but you know, because they're sugar free. But chocolate cookies, Kraft cheese, shred cheese, cookie cheese, cheese. It's delicious.
Like, are you like sandwiching them, or are you just having a cookie?
I eat the cookie, and then I eat a little bit of the cheese. Or I eat like one of those cheese slices. You eat that. Then I eat another cookie, and then you eat some more of the cheese. It's fantastic.
Interesting contrast to flavors and textures.
Ladies and gentlemen, just calling it now. He may or may not have a body buried in his backyard. Because that's some serial killer shit weird. Right there. That is weird, man.
Unconventional, to put it politely.
You know where it came from? And I'm gonna get off this.
You read a book about Ted Bundy?
I'll tell you what. You guys let me know if you want. If we get some comments, get some tweets, I will share next week where JJ's weird obsession with chocolate cookies and cheese as a snack came from. It seems weird. It's not as entertaining as you might think, but it's funny. All right.
Like, did you just open a cabinet and that's all that was there, and you're like, we're just gonna roll with this?
No,
found out it was good.
no. It's one of those things that kind of just, all right, fuck it. Sorry, I told you I was gonna do, but I'm gonna tell you.
I like the cliffhanger setup though. I like the making him wait for it.
I'm gonna make him wait. I'm gonna make you wait. Yeah, I'm gonna make everybody wait. Yeah, we're gonna make him wait.
Yeah, I got two next week. Don't give that shit away.
You know what? I'm glad we're waiting.
I'm not gonna tell you after the show either, Jamie or Austin. So there you go.
Great.
Journey Pro was a great time. It's sad to see him go, especially because honestly, this last show was probably one of the best they put on since they've been in Agnes. Okay. They finally found the right setup at the last show for the ring and everything. It's like, God damn it, where was this the whole time? But the crowd was a good sized crowd there. It was a good send off. Christian Rose retained the Journey Pro title. He's taking it to St. Louis Anarchy. It's being renamed something, and they're going to continue to fight for it.
I think it's like the Destination title or something like that.
Something Destination. Yeah, I don't remember.
Yeah.
So
but that's cool. It's going to live on. Like, yeah. Nice to take that. It's cool looking belt too. So it's cool to take that somewhere else. But the setup was dope. I really like that ring kind of being cornered over there and the whole crowd behind it. And I've always just really liked Journey's everyone bring your own chair policy, which this came from they didn't have chairs at the Agnes. But it's such a cool aesthetic. Like the crowd spaces out just a little bit more, so it looks a little bit bigger. And also like more wrestling shows should do that. I'd rather bring a long chair to sit in. Not that I go like watch a lot of local wrestling shows now because I'm usually on them, but yeah, a lot more comfortable sitting in a lawn chair than like
absolutely
the usual crappy hard plastic ones that we end up breaking several of at every show I've ever been on.
As extra large men, me and Jamie agree with that statement very much.
Yes, I enjoy my nice, comfy lawn chair. Very nice.
So we will miss Journey Pro, but something will pop up. Something will come in.
Something's got to be coming back here relatively soon because the way that left and how hot that crowd was, like it just feels like it's something that has to come back. I know we have CSW here in Kansas City, and I don't want to talk too ill of them. I just want women's wrestling in Kansas City. And they are definitely against that. So there's that.
I'm sure someone will come in and fill that void Journey's leaving. Hopefully on the Kansas side of the border, so I don't have to worry about the commission anymore. But even if it isn't, I'm licensed for 2 more years, so might as well get some more mileage.
If they do. Yeah, because you weren't coming in when Journey Pro was operating on the Kansas side pre-pandemic. You guys were still in Colorado, weren't you?
We were. Yeah, pre-pandemic we were in Colorado,
right?
Because we moved to Kansas in fall of 2021, so a little over a year ago.
Okay, yeah.
And I know Heidi had gone out a few times, and I think even during the pandemic, they ran a few shows, I think, on the Kansas side, just like random one-offs, if I remember correctly. But yeah, not just the Missouri commission does suck, but like most state commissions suck, and it's just better to wrestle places that don't have them.
Most do. Kansas is a lot more friendly to wrestling promotions than Missouri's is.
Yeah, sure. Kansas is just hands off. Like the state doesn't get involved at all with promotions that run in Kansas. It's nice.
License is this amount of dollars. There's this and that. If you do liquor, you gotta get a liquor license. Boom, you're done.
Yeah, there's not even licenses for wrestling here. No. Like it's just someone just runs the show.
X number of dollars for a show. Give us a fee. Have fun.
Yeah. I mean, if the commissions actually served a purpose, I would get it. But it's just a money grab. They don't do anything. Mm-hmm. Like the lights out match when main event power goes out of the Agnes, the crowd holds up their cell phones. One of the dopest things I've ever seen in indie wrestling. It's storming so hard outside. The power is out in this building full of like a couple hundred people. You would think a commission would step in and be like, this is probably unsafe. We should shut this down. Not that it was. It was great. It went off great. I'm glad they didn't shut it down. But like, if there was ever a time a commission was going to flex some authority, like, wouldn't that be something they would maybe say something about? No, they do nothing, but they take your money. And then I don't remember if Heidi's talked to y'all about this before. Every time she wrestles in Missouri, she has to sign a waiver before stating she's not pregnant.
Yeah.
Which, okay. Why? What's that really doing for anybody?
Right.
The funny thing is, if you're 17 or 16 years old and you want to compete in an MMA competition, you can. But you can't wrestle in Missouri.
Can't wrestle.
Yeah, you can get punched and kicked in the head repeatedly, but you can't like work a headlock for 6 minutes.
Yeah, Billy Stark's first Journey Pro appearance was on the Kansas side because she couldn't do this, and Nick Wayne can't.
And I get trying to keep teenagers.
If it's uniform, wrestling. I'm for it. Yeah, but
yeah. But if you're gonna let them go out there and fight, what's the purpose?
Right.
Like, and again, like I get being like, hey, maybe wait till your brain develops more before you start killing those brain cells and hitting the mat over and over again. I don't have kids. I don't care what any teenager does, but I understand the logic behind it. But yeah, not if you're gonna throw them into a cage with 4-ounce gloves and just rain haymakers at each other's domes for 5 minutes. So.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, I know a couple of the owners that I talked to after the show. They said that that they're not done and they got things. I know we know some other people, Jamie and I do, that are talking, and there's so same thing happened. NWL went under. I fully expect something to come in and take its place. So
yeah, with how hot that crowd was, especially on a Thursday night, like in between holidays when people got like family shit going on, all that, they drew a great crowd. And yeah, the crowd was hot for the show. Like
a better night, I think, for them, because that's what the Kansas Hall shows were always Thursday night. They drew like 400 or 500 people. Yeah.
Oh yeah,
that's dope.
Plus, they're able to get talent there because talent's on their way, So, like Effie and like bigger names and like that, they're going to be at GCW on Friday and a Saturday, So, get them that Thursday, you have a lot better chance of getting some larger name talent, if they're headed from out west down to or from East Coast down to Texas. Well, they just stop over in Kansas City for a night before they head down. It makes it, it's easy.
Yeah, absolutely. Or if like maybe they're in St. Louis on a Friday, like, hey, get them another booking along the way, bring them by.
Yeah.
Yeah. The Thursday show, it kind of surprised me, but then I forgot, like, I'm not old. I'm in my mid-30s, but like I don't go out and do shit during the week now. But I forgot like a decade ago, I absolutely would have been at a wrestling show on a Thursday night. Like, who cares?
Yeah. It's so much fun. I really enjoyed the Thursday show. Like that show was just a good time all the way around.
Mm-hmm.
Like legit banger after banger after banger. Our boy JDX got a really good win.
Almost really got you a Lion Tamer victory.
Almost got me a Lion Tamer.
So close.
Chicago Crab.
It was a true Lion Tamer too. That's what I appreciate. Yes. It wasn't just a Boston Crab. It was the true Lion Tamer.
This is why Jamie likes you, Austin.
Yes, because Christian Rose says he does one. I'm like, no, that's a high-angled Boston Crab because your knee's not in the back of their head and you're not squatting down. Like, that's a fucking lion tamer. There's only one way to do one.
And there's nothing wrong with the Boston Crab. Boston Crab's perfectly fine.
Yeah.
But a Boston Crab looks good. Yeah. Doesn't look as good as a lion tamer, though.
No, lion tamer is the prettiest submission in the game.
The Boston Crab, it never looks painful enough that someone's actually going to tap out.
Thank you.
It's a fine move, but like it's like a reverse chin lock. Like, okay, it's a hold. No one's getting beat by a regular Boston Crab. Lion tamer, when they got that thing cranked all the way up, the knee on the back of the neck, that shit hurts. Like that's a good submission finish.
I agree. I 1,000% agree. But obviously, I'm a little biased. So then okay. I know we're supposed to. We got some news, but what's your favorite submission move?
That was such low hanging fruit, Jamie. I'd be mad if you didn't go to it. For
a win.
Yes, not just like in the middle of a match, like a Mexican surfboard or something like that.
So I have a hard time narrowing it down to just one. I do love a good ankle lock.
Oh yeah,
an ankle lock, that is a legit. Every single person in the crowd sees your foot getting twisted and immediately sees that shit hurts. Like they understand if you're gonna tap out, that dude's twisting your ankle sideways. Yeah, and what most of them don't even realize too is that shit can legit tear all the way up through the knee. That's something that happens in MMA all the time. Like leg locks are a real thing. I love a good ankle lock. Obviously, Kurt Angle, the best one ever. And
absolutely
agreed.
I think the other thing I really like about the ankle lock is, and more so, this is more so just what I like about Kurt Angle is the number of ways he could roll through shit and just catch that ankle lock, and just how seamless you can get into that. That being said, the ankle lock is also one of those things that more often than not looks like absolute shit when someone tries to do it, because they'll just like hug the foot into the chest and there's no twisting motion. You got to get one arm behind, one arm in front and really look like you're cranking that ankle. And so many people just like hug the leg, and it takes this much more effort to make that look just devastating, and it annoys the living shit. It's just like you see people call a lion tamer and they're not actually doing a lion tamer. To me, that's the same thing as just holding onto the leg and not actually wrenching that shit. Because when applied right, it looks devastating.
I agree. I like a good ankle lock.
Yeah, Jamie also is a big fan of Texas Cloverleaf. This is probably his number 2.
Texas Cloverleaf's really high on the list, and then
I do love that one.
For the upper body submissions, because I have submissions for everything. The Dragon Sleeper is really high on the list too.
I do. I love the aesthetic of the Dragon Sleeper.
Yeah.
I think it's a little bit, like psychology-wise, a little bit silly of a move. Just like you're not really getting enough pressure to actually put someone to sleep like that. It just looks dope though. Yeah, like, and again, it's pro wrestling, so as long as it looks cool, like, sure,
that's all that matters. That's 9/10 of everything.
All right, yeah, I think upper body submission, I would have to go Rings of Saturn as my favorite.
Rings of Saturn's a good one. Although go ahead.
I'll say the reason why I that's got to be towards the top of my list, in as far as just looking legit and everyone being able to tell, like, hey, that's definitely gonna hurt. Is that there is a ton of wrestlers you can't even put it on because their arms don't go back that far. Like, that's how you know that shit works.
I mean, something not too dissimilar to that, but I do like Deonna Purrazzo's Venus de Milo, the double back arm bar. Not too different, but I love her in general. I think she's fantastic, and WWE fucked up big time by not realizing her potential, but. I love that move that she does, because that's another one too, Jamie, that she can pull that out, kind of bam, bam, and then all of a sudden got both of them hooked up, and with the arch back, it's great.
Yeah, that's a pretty move right there.
Well, whenever we do get more information, like I said, anything about Journey Pro, we will definitely let you know. We want to take just a quick second here and just recognize, because it was actually in the middle of the main event. Our good friend Val Pancakes, who I'm sure if you listen to any wrestling podcast, you know her. She's much bigger than us, but she's a great person from up Omaha way. She's good, real close friends with Jayson Strife and the promotion they had up there. She's been involved for a while. And she came and told us, like, halfway through the main event, she got a message that Jayson Strife, who is a Journey Pro alum, has been around. It's been all over the Midwest. Been all over a lot of places. Wrestled as Jayson Strife as well as Yellow Dog. Don't know if everybody knew that, but good old Yellow Dog. He did pass away, unfortunately, last Thursday. So want to send our love to family and friends, everybody close, Jayson Strife. We didn't know him well personally, at least Jamie and I didn't, but he will be missed.
Absolutely. Did you know him at all? Did you know Aaron?
I think I worked one show with him a while back, but like that was the only time I'd ever met him. But like, and that's what made it. I would say what made it, but like what. Trying to think how to articulate this because I don't want to sound like anything positive. Like it is very unfortunate, but just the number of people I know, just across wrestling that all had something to say.
Oh yeah.
Like you, especially for someone that I had never really run into and been familiar with, to be that close with so many other people I know, like they got to be a good dude when like that many people are mentioning that and are really hit by that. So yeah, it's super unfortunate. I didn't know him personally. I think I worked one show with him. Might have been a Journey show. I don't.
He did a few Journey shows. He was in a Scramble. I think it was the show after the inaugural weekend shows.
Yeah, it was the last show at Agnes before they went out on the road. When it was like
out of the oven.
Was he in a Scramble? Was that the show where he teamed with Wasteland War Party? Was he on that one?
I think it was.
Yes. Wesley was out there. Like they had a lot of people in on that one. I think that's the one that I worked with them. I can't remember specifically, but I think that was it.
Yeah, no, that was it because he worked the Scramble the second night.
That's right.
And then he talked about like he was fighting like he's
so
like
it was all good things then.
Yeah.
Oh,
yeah.
okay.
Yeah, he did the Scramble the second night, and yeah, he talked and talked about everything. Because of everything that was going on, and then subsequently here, 6 months later, he's passed, unfortunately. And we gave him his flowers just 2-3 weeks ago.
You did, yes. When we found out he was in hospice care, we absolutely did. But
yeah.
Anyway, we do want to give all our well wishes. Anybody knew him, share with us. Share with the internet as well. Tweet out, your favorite moments of Jayson Strife. If you have any matches, tweet some links out. More people need to realize, what good wrestler he was and good person. Also, we do want to send our prayers and loves and wishes to the family of Don West. Don West lost his battle with cancer over the weekend too. Don West is near and dear to my heart because TNA is what got me back into wrestling after a long pause, right? And hearing Don West and Mike Tenay on commentary was great. And, so once again, thoughts and prayers out to Don West and his family as well.
I always enjoyed how genuinely excited Don West would get
for anything. I mean,
whenever you get the commentators sometimes where they're doing a job, and then you get the commentators sometimes where they are really just enjoying. Pat McAfee's the same way. Like you see him, like he is just enjoying the shit out of himself watching that, and that comes through in the commentary, and like that just sucks you so much more into the moment when like the dudes that are literally paid to sit there and watch this. It's not just routine for them. They're into it. They're enjoying it as much as you are as a viewer.
Oh man.
Yeah. He's that addictive personality type, to your point. Like he gets you hyped just because he's so hyped, he's Flavor Flav. That's probably the best way to put it.
You were going down a hype bro path there for a second. I was like, don't go all the way there.
No.
Don't go all
Mojo rally coming out.
Don't go Mojo. right, but much love,
Oh,
family.
Mojo Rawley. I wonder what he's up to these days.
Wasn't he doing like the
much.
Control Your Narrative or something? I don't even know.
No, that was EC3, and
I know he's still trying to do that. Yeah, but
he's wrestling. I think he's doing some stuff with WWE, but like adjacent.
Oh,
type stuff.
He's probably doing some like Performance Center stuff or whatever.
But that he got released, but didn't like fully separate from the company. I thought they were doing something with him.
There's a few of them. But I think they became like trainers and stuff like that. Like I know like Breeze is back being a trainer. I know.
I can't remember who it was that he worked, but right after Heidi and I moved to Denver, we went to a random WWE house show, and the opener was Mojo Rawley. I cannot remember who he worked, but I remember it being like the best Mojo Rawley match I'd ever seen in my life, and it was a good time. I love WWE. It's such a good time watching WWE talent work the crowd rather than work the camera. It's miles different from watching it on TV. When we went, it was Roman Reigns and the Usos against Rey Mysterio and the New Day in a 6-man tag in the main, and they went like 20 minutes. And like half of it was just fun, silly shit. The other half was really good wrestling. The whole crowd was into it. It like those house shows, as just kind of boring as their TV can get sometimes, the house shows, it reminds you that all these, most of their talent are just really good pro wrestlers that really know how to put on a great show.
We saw my favorite WWE show that we saw, Jamie, was the NXT house show when they were doing
I was going
to
say the same thing. We had front row tickets to NXT house show, and it was a blast. Like, that's when my second oldest daughter, Megan, was like super into wrestling. And
right there.
So, and that's right after the Undisputed Era was dripping in gold. They had all the gold. Like, it was right after that happened. And like, she actually ended up getting Kyle O'Reilly's shirt because he threw it and like it fell right in front of us. Nice. And like, the security guard was so cool. And like, I'm like, get it. He's like, yeah, get it. Like, he was like hanging on my daughter.
The guard was a little bit of a mark, which I loved.
Yeah. And then after the show was over, Pete Dunne was walking around taking pictures with people, took the time. Like, it was like super personal. Had such a good time. We saw
Keith Lee,
Street
we saw
Profits.
Matt Riddle. We saw Dijakovic.
Yeah, Matt Riddle was awesome. Like, he came over, he's like, "What's up, bro?" Like he's high as fuck. I was just getting after it. Like, hey.
Keith Lee opened, and it was like everybody's still kind of settling in, whatever. And he just like stopped everything, got the crowd all pumped up, and put on a show. Who did he fight?
Dijakovic.
I was gonna say, I think we got Keith Lee Dijo.
That's all. Their matches were always so much fun to watch.
Two big men slapping meat.
Pay-per-view quality shit though, those two. So
I did the Ring of Honor seminar tryout back in 2013.
Okay.
When Dijakovic was still green as shit. And he hadn't really figured everything out yet. But just watching him then, it was like, oh, that guy's going to make some money in this business. I mean, one, he's just a mountain of a man, but
right.
You could just see the charisma coming through.
Awesome.
Yeah, that guy's a monster. We went to an NXT house show in Houston back in 2017.
Okay.
If I remember correctly, I think it was Bayley's last NXT house show before she got called up to the main roster because they did a big send up at the end.
Right. Yeah.
But we got the Revival versus DIY in they went damn near 40 minutes.
A house show? See, that's why I love house shows, man.
And it was not long before their big takeover match that they did. That was that was one of the best tag team matches I've ever seen. One of the best matches in general I've ever seen live. The NXT house show was just such a good time.
So, pivoting, this is how we pivot here. Speaking of the Revival, now known as FTR, was a little busy over in Japan about 48 hours ago as this comes out. Mm-hmm. So, Wrestle Kingdom 17 took place, ladies and gentlemen, and I was able to watch so far 4 of the matches. I've watched 4 matches. And holy shit, this show was amazing just from the 4 matches I got to watch. Speaking of, one of the very first matches I watched was Hiroki Goto and Yoshihashi going against FTR for the IWGP Tag Team Championships. Now, have you guys had a chance to see any of the highlights or anything from those matches?
I've seen most of the highlights from the whole show. So
I've not all I've seen is a couple clips of Osprey and Omega, and the I was going to call her Sasha Banks, but I guess it's Mercedes Mone now. I saw her little spot as well. I haven't seen anything else yet. I will probably wait until Miss Heidi Howitzer comes back from Japan, and then we'll watch the replay of that. Because I heard Wrestle Kingdom was just flames.
The whole show just
so FTR dropped the belts to Yoshihashi and Hiroki Goto, but I'll put it this way. You have a standard bar for FTR matches, which is head and shoulders above 95% of tag teams out there right now. Like, and that's no bullshit. That's not
best in the world right now.
That's legit. They are the best.
With or without titles. Okay.
Yes, with or without. Yeah, they're officially titleless now. They've dropped all of their belts. But this match, like, I've always liked Yoshihashi. I've always thought a solid tag team wrestler, and Hiroki Goto, like, I've just recently got into more of his stuff, but holy shit, this match, was it as good as Briscoe's 3? Almost. Not as good as Briscoe 2 or Briscoe 1.
So is that okay? I was gonna say, no, yeah. I don't know what can touch those first two.
I was waiting for the follow up on that. I have not seen the dog collar match yet. We were booked the night.
Okay.
I forget where we were wrestling that night.
No, it was weird. It was like a Saturday afternoon is when they had it too.
Yeah, I want to say we were on our way. I think we were on our way to Denver for New Era Wrestling.
Yeah.
But yeah, either that or it was either Denver or Salina, Kansas. It was one of the two. But either way, like, we were just booked that day, so we didn't get to see it. So I haven't seen the dog collar match, but FTR Briscoe's 1 was just magical.
That was JJ's match of the year.
I love to death, but you wouldn't have gotten 2 if you didn't have 1. And 1 over all of WrestleMania weekend, so much wrestling and a lot of good of it. That match just stood out to me like a stuck out like a sore thumb. And oh my God, that thing was just.
So now I'm trying to think, and maybe y'all can come up with one. Is there a better match 2 than a match 1 out there? Like, where match 1 was just fucking amazing and match 2 exceeded it? Like, I'm drawing a blank trying to think of any. I'm sure there's probably at least one.
Jamie believes that Briscoe's he has another one in mind, I know. But Jamie believes that Briscoe's FTR 2 is better than 1. The 2 out of 3 falls.
Yes. I like 2 out of 3 falls a lot.
I gotta disagree. And
that's fair.
I enjoy the 2 out of 3 falls gimmick. I'm not sure, at least in my opinion, I'm not sure it's ever better than a 1 fall to a finish.
Yeah.
Different strokes for different folks. I won't hold against you for liking 2 better. But yeah, FTR Briscoe's 1 was my match of the year as well. Like, that was just.
So it was like 40 minutes. It was great. Jamie has another one he wants to get to.
So this one technically is probably like the 6th time that they wrestled, technically. But it was the 2nd time for the belt. And it was the 7-star match of Okada Omega. Like, the perfect match. Like, the perfect match.
I have seen one Okada Omega match, and I don't know which one it was.
It was.
Was it 1 hour and 38 minutes long?
It was not.
Okay, then it was not that match.
It was not that match.
I don't know which one it was. I actually have not seen much New Japan. It's just one of those things that I have never got around to watching. I think it's because I spent too much time watching, like, old WWF stuff from the 80s, and I forget there's, like, other newer shit out there.
It's hard to get to also, you know? if you're in the
I think that's
States.
probably true. Like everything I've seen from New Japan, I've enjoyed. It's just nothing. It's just something I never think to like go out of my way to watch. And yeah, like a lot of times, like I wasn't gonna stay up until 4 a.m. or whatever time it was that came on last night. But yeah, I do actually want to go back and watch Wrestle Kingdom back because yeah, I heard it was amazing.
Yeah, and let me recap just a few things so people know. Lots of belts dropped.
Oh yeah.
Like I think only one maybe held. Carl Anderson lost to Tama Tonga. I have not got to watch that match, but I'm kind of glad Tama Tonga's finally getting his flowers. You had Kenny Omega defeating Osprey for the IWGP United States Heavyweight Championship belt, which arguably could be an early match of the year contender because top to bottom, this was exactly what I wanted. Plus, and you threw in a table that got Will Ospreay's face getting knocked through it, which now I want in every match.
My favorite tweet about that match was that I can't remember who tweeted out, but it was somebody. I think it might have been SRS from Fightful actually. Or Will from Fightful. One of the two of them said, right now, Dave Metzger is not assigning stars. He is assigning constellations for Osprey, Omega.
Oh, yeah. Dude, he creamed his shorts for that one. Then Okada beat Jay White for the IWGP Championship. Which
I did not see that coming. I did not see that coming.
100% saw it coming because I 1,000% believe we are going to see Jay White at the Royal Rumble.
Interesting. I
just don't know.
I feel like that's less than likely. It would be dope. I have a feeling that any surprise entrance to the Royal Rumble, and I don't even know who off the top of my head, are going to be people that got released within the last year that they're just bringing back.
Mm-hmm. Or The Rock.
It would be cool. It would be cool to see Jay White there. I not sure it's gonna happen.
Let me ask you this, because Jamie and I disagreed on this. We all love Jay White, right? We know Jay White. You know, a lot of the internet wrestling community, Jay White. The world of WWE, I don't think they'll see Jay White, and I think half of them at least are gonna be like, who the hell's that?
Yeah, I would tend to agree with you. I mean, the talent is obviously there, but it would not be the first time WWE whiffed on a really talented motherfucker. Like they have a long track record of being like, we don't know what to do with this amazing athlete. That's I think that's the reason why I think it's not I could see them totally not seeing the value in him, at least as much to put him in the Rumble. Maybe sign him and put him in NXT like they tend to do with everybody. But this is the company that, you know, had Bryan Danielson doing silly shit for like 8 years before they figured out, oh, that's the best wrestler in the world. Just put him at the top of the card where he belongs. So yeah, it's not a lack of faith in Jay White. It's a lack of faith in what WWE sees in talent.
Well, and remember, this is just because WWE has confirmed that somebody through the forbidden door will be there, and because Carl Anderson was there defending his title and losing it subsequently, like it makes sense for them to have somebody from there. Jay White is still under contract with New Japan until 2024, so I feel like he's just going to show up, get the pop, stay in there for a little bit because they're not going to put one of their champions in there. They're not going to put Okada in there because Okada and WWE go together like oil and water, man. That just won't fly.
But I mean, does it? But then I ask you again, Jamie, does it have to be somebody from?
Oh no, it's the other person that just got face to face with one Mercedes Mone.
Well, but I'm just talking about the Forbidden Door thing. You know, I'm like, does that have to be somebody from New Japan? It could be.
Impact again?
Josh Alexander pops in, or I mean,
bro,
that would be interesting. I could definitely see them seeing the value in Josh Alexander and really wanting him and like knowing what to do with him. He just very much fits like a type they like to use a lot.
Yes.
I mean, you basically put him in that Kurt Angle role of like just go out there, can wrestle anybody, can do whatever you want. Yeah, I could see I could see Josh Alexander more than Jay White. I could see Kyrie more than either of them.
Absolutely.
I mean, that's a layup to them. Like their audience already knows her. Pop's built in.
They have a good relationship with her. She didn't leave on bad terms.
They historically play it safe. Like they are almost always going to go with the sure thing when it's there. And I would be happy to see Kyrie Sane there. Although one of my biggest disappointments in pro wrestling was when they did the WrestleMania in Tampa and didn't have Kyrie Sane there to jump off the pirate ship.
Yeah.
Like, what a missed opportunity.
I mean, if the Hardys were there, they would have done it. Like, Kyrie would have done it too. She's kind of crazy. Like, I love me some Kyrie. Kyrie, whatever you want to call her. Like, she's awesome. And then her tag team partner, Asuka, would be there with this new version of her potentially going to be out. The old version of her in Stardom. But, so I want to get back to tag teams because we could talk about this till we're blue in the face. But I know you love tag team wrestling.
I do.
And we talked about FTR. We're all in consensus that they're the greatest tag team today.
Currently.
So I beg the question to both of you gentlemen, and I have my own list. What is your Mount Rushmore of tag team wrestling?
So limiting it to 4 is going to be hard. Because
Yes.
there's no way to limit it to 4 and not leave off plenty of worthy contenders. Without thinking long and hard about this, I got to put the Road Warriors on there, and that is more my personal preference than I think really like ability. The Road Warriors were a one match team. They had one match they did every time, but just the shoulder pads, the face paint, the whole look. And then just the early Road Warriors just murdering people in the ring.
Dude.
That's mine. I actually I don't know where this picture exists or if it still does exist. It would be in a box somewhere at my parents' house. But way back in the mid to late 90s when WWF came through Houston, because I grew up in Houston, they came through It was I want to say it was before the No Way Out of Texas pay-per-view in 98. It may have been before a house show earlier the year before. But they did a big meet and greet and signing at it was before No Way Out because they did the meet and greet signing and I got autographs from DX and that was dope. Nice. But at the meet and greet signing, they had a costume contest for free tickets to the show, which we already had tickets, but I'm like, it's 98. I'm 11 at the time. I'm like, oh, I'm going to dress up like a wrestler. So I show up as Hawk from the Legion of Doom and I'm 11 at the time. So I'm in 5th, 6th grade, whatever you are at 11.
Right.
And I had my brother shave the mohawks into my head. And I went to school like for a week after. I had my face painted. So I show up dressed as Hawk. And there happens to be some other kid there that was a couple years younger than me who randomly showed up dressed as Animal.
Nice.
And so they're looking through and there's only like 15 of us that dressed up for this. And Sunny is judging it. And she's looking, she's like, well, I can't split the team up. Y'all definitely win. So we got free tickets. And I ended up giving them to a friend of mine because we already had tickets to the show. But yeah, like that's part of the reason why the LOD is definitely on my list. Just because that was my team when I was LOD, and Harlem Heat was my other team as a kid.
Oh, yeah.
And I think I'm going to put Harlem Heat on my Mount Rushmore as well. Probably leaving off a more worthy team, but again, that's my personal Mount Rushmore. I did work for Booker for a couple years. I was managed by Stevie Ray for a few years.
Okay,
that was dope. After coming up as a kid, and I wasn't even a huge WCW fan as a kid. That was what we tuned into during the commercial breaks of Raw, and that was all the WCW I saw. But yeah, like wasn't even a huge WCW fan, but I was a Harlem Heat fan. So like they were over with me. And then 15 years later, I'm sitting there at a show putting oil on Stevie Ray's back when him and Booker are about to go out there and tag for the first time. Also, I went and worked Wildcat Wrestling in New Orleans, and Booker was supposed to be there, but he got pulled last minute to a WWE event or something.
Sure.
So they send Stevie Ray instead, and they only got him a one-way flight. So after this show, and at this time, I had like maybe one small conversation with Stevie Ray. He wasn't managing me yet or anything like that. But someone walks up and is like, hey, they flew Stevie out one way, but can you drive him back to Houston? And I was like, yeah, sure thing. I got room in my car. And it was just me. I drove out there by myself. So I drive 6 hours through the night, because it's about 6 hours from New Orleans to Houston, with Stevie Ray sitting in the passenger seat of my car. And we do nothing but talk about conspiracy theories for 6 straight hours.
Oh my God, that's great.
Oh my God.
It was like one of the most surreal experiences of my life. I was like, I watched this guy. Like, that's the only WCW wrestler I really liked. And we're sitting here just talking about aliens and all kinds of things. 9/11, like, and it was great too, because like every conspiracy that, like, Stevie Ray, he didn't come across as a guy that like was like just super out there and into weird shit. He came across as a guy that like just doesn't believe any bullshit. And he's like, so you're gonna tell me this and this and this and this and this, and like I don't even remember specific opinions, but I was just dying laughing the whole way. Like it was ridiculous.
Oh, that's fantastic.
So we're at 2. You got
2 more to go.
We got Harlem Heat. Brainbusters are definitely on there for me.
Okay.
One of my go-to recommendations, because I do quite a bit of training newer wrestlers, one of my go-to match study recommendations is Heart Foundation and Brainbusters from SummerSlam 89. In my opinion, the best tag match there ever was, before they started getting into the more modern, where you could mix a little bit more of the spotty style in, but still get the tags in. Just as far as old school tag team matches, Heart Foundation, Brainbusters at SummerSlam is like, that's my holy grail tag matches. I tell everyone to watch it. So Brainbusters are on there. As the 4th, I would say Edge and Christian, just again for nostalgia purposes. Like that was right in my era. I was at WrestleMania 17 for the TLC match. Like, but I think I'm going to have to leave them off and go a little bit more classic on it.
Okay.
And I got to go Rock and Roll Express.
Dude, okay.
Okay, all right.
I can't leave the Rock and Roll Express. Actually,
yeah.
Just worked a show with Ricky Morton a couple weeks ago at Expo in Salina. Still out there bumping.
Jesus, he's going to die in the ring.
He will not leave the ring.
He's the Ram from The Wrestler, you know?
Yeah, I can't leave the Rock and Roll Express out there. They're like kind of the originators of a lot of shit people copied forever.
We wouldn't have a lot of these tag teams today if you didn't have Rock and Roll Express.
Yeah, exactly. And I always, not that I'm a short guy, but a hair under 6 foot, 6 foot in my boots, build at 6 foot. I like seeing guys that are under 6 foot succeed, and to a high degree. It lets us know you don't have to be Dak Draper size to do something in this business.
True that.
He's a monster.
Oh, man.
All right, that's your 4. JJ, have your 4.
First of all, I do love the Harlem Heat thing, and I disagree. I'm not putting them on mine, but I do want to give a shout-out to them, because think of as impactful as Rock and Roll Express was to modern tag teams, end of sentence, Harlem Heat is just as impactful to black tag teams. This is the first time black kids could look at the TV and be like, oh yeah, I could do this. Look, they're right there, right? You know, one of the top tag teams in the world on TV every week on WCW. So anyway, I love that. My 4, I'm going to mix it up a little bit, because Road Warriors, Legion of Doom, I agree with you. Love them. I'm going a little bit different in that generation. And I love them because, you know, they weren't the classically best tag team, but they utilized a lot of gimmicks. Fantastic. The Freebird rule, and somebody who fought with Legion of Doom quite a bit would be Demolition. My favorite tag team growing up. Loved it.
Axe and Smash, baby.
Axe and Smash, and then they had Crash, and then the mask with the leather, the S&M mask with the stuff. I loved it. It just was great. It probably says more about me than it does about them, but whatever.
Breaking the law.
I'm gonna go old school on one of mine too. I'm gonna go Arn and Tully. I'm a big Four Horsemen fan, and you can't talk about tag teams in the '80s without talking about
Brainbusters, man. Like, and when you've got two guys that are just that good at working, it's always gonna be magic, no matter who they're in
Absolutely.
with. I think my favorite thing about the Brainbusters was that they weren't a team that were doing a lot of tag team moves. They were two heels that knew how to bend every rule there was, and like you never knew what they were going to come up with. And that's why going back to that match they had with the Hart Foundation at SummerSlam, there's just so many just ingenious spots in that match that aren't moves. It's just situations that like you never would have thought of that in a million years.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And they're trees from what they spawned from there, and part of the Four Horsemen. And so it's just, I was gonna try to do like four completely different ones, but it's like I can't not do Arn and Tully. I have to put them on. Man. Gotta put them on there. I'm gonna put on there. I am gonna go to that late '90s WWE era because I do think that that era, of tag team wrestling is what helped also precipitate a lot of what we see today with Young Bucks and Lucha Brothers, right? And these future kids and stuff. And I'm going to put on there Dudley Boys, Team 3D, whatever you want to call them, right? Hardcore Legends, ECW, WWE, TNA, 30 whatever titles that they've won, something stupid like that. Staying Power, fuck, Bully's still wrestling for God's sake. But I mean they were able to bridge that across because at the time, you had a few from ECW that made it right. It kind of stuck around, but you only had a very few that really had massive, appeal beyond that, and they were both. They could do the hardcore shit and the regular, corporate shit all over. Team 3D, as I refer to them as, but the Dudleys all day.
Mm-hmm. Solid choice.
And then I need a fourth one there, and
you guys both have pieces of mine, so it's gonna make mine real short.
And here's the thing: it's like a lot of it's influenced on like when I grew up a little bit too, I think is what it is. So growing up, me and Jamie talked about this a lot. That era, late 90s, we were high school, early college, right? So we were that key we were the key demo for them when that was going on. And I can't talk about the Hardys without adding, or I can't talk about 3D without adding the Hardys in there. Hardy Boys. I mean,
old Team Extreme.
God. From the super, like Mountain Dew Max, to, but once again, staying power, and the reinvention that they kept going on with the whole broken universe, Matt Hardy is a monster genius, and Jeff Hardy, please get better, but I gotta put two from that era on there, and I'm gonna put those two on there. So that's my Mount Rushmore.
Yeah, the Hardys are a solid choice. I was never a huge Hardys fan. I respect and appreciate them. My favorite thing about the Hardys is how they went from being job guys in like 1995. Like I still vividly remember
Rockers
as a kid watching Razor Ramon get pissed off and Razor's Edge Jeff Hardy like 6 fucking times. Random episodes Raw or Superstars. And then them King of the Ring 95 being the little guards opening the door for everyone that came out. Like to see guys that just like were just doing jobs, being extras, go become one of the greatest tag teams of all time. Like that's rad.
I'm not gonna lie. I became a Hardys fan because of Lita. Because I go.
Fair.
I'm sorry. I was, horny 17-year-old kid. Who's that with her thong hanging out, right? And then I'll stick around and watch that match. I was a WCW guy, right? So I'd peek. I do the opposite. So I'd peek over to WWE, and I'd see this tag team and this girl in the thong. And I'm like, yes, give me. Ooh, what are they? Oh, geez, what is that? And I love flippy spinny shit. So it just sung to me.
Yeah. All right,
Jimmy, it's your question. You got top.
So my 4. So Road Warriors, obviously we just talked about Legion of Doom. They're always high on my list. What a rush! They're really high on the list. I'm also a big Dudley Boys guy. I was an old school ECW guy. Loved the original ECW a lot. I forgot how I found it. I know when I was out at when I graduated, I was 18 years old. My sister lived in Philadelphia at the time, so she flew me out there as a graduation present. And we went to a show out there. She took me to a show. It wasn't at the Hammerstein Ballroom. It was just at some other place, and that place was fucking nuts. Like, I've never been at a show that, like, I'm an 18-year-old kid. Thought, I was getting ready to go play football in college. I'm like, I'm a big bad motherfucker. And I see these guys walk around. I'm like, man, I ain't saying shit to them. I was scared to death. But so they're really high on the list. So here are my other 2, though. You mentioned them because they have their own rule. The Fabulous Freebirds. What they did for wrestling is insane. Like, and that's also like with my Mount Rushmore, it goes past of just what they can do in the ring. It's like what they meant to the wrestling business as a whole. Like the Freebird rule is still in effect today, and they still refer to it as the Freebird rule.
Across wrestling too. It's not promotion specific. It's
just the Freebird rule. Like, they're so damn good. And I remember watching them when I was like 6. And like it was old school shit. Like really, like they were before my time. But they're on my list, and then my final one isn't on anybody's list, but they're on mine. Damn it! And that's none other than Hall and Nash, the Outsiders, because of what they did for the fucking business. If it wasn't for them, wrestling would not be what it is today. I am 100% believe that.
Yep.
That's a solid pick. I think the thing with the Outsiders is if WCW hadn't just decided to do like 3 straight years of just NWO beats everybody and nothing ever matters, I think their run would have been even better. Like, I think it was largely poorly booked after pretty much the initial forming of the NWO.
Yeah.
But that kind of robbed that because I enjoyed them as a tag team. It just kind of gets you to tune out after a while. Like there were times where like literally nothing made sense. It'd be like, oh, they're gonna wrestle. Like they had the titles for forever, and it would be like they would lose the title and Bischoff would just come out and be like, no, that didn't count. We're just gonna give it back. Like it was just shit like that. Which quick aside, the one thing similar in that vein that to this day I will never let go and it will irk me until I die was the time Brock Lesnar came out and won the Money in the Bank contract in a match he was not in. Like,
yeah.
Oh, yes.
That is my go-to what the fuck WWE reference of all. Like, just you write the rules. You make them up. Make it make sense, please. They never bothered explaining why a guy, which then, and this is why it annoys me. Why not then from there on out, every Money in the Bank match, did random motherfuckers not just run from the back, just climb up and grab? Because you can, apparently. They allow it.
Yeah, apparently can.
That's my rant of the day.
I hear you.
Justifiable, because there's a few of those. Like, well, they almost did the same thing with MJF with the getting the
with the Stokely Hathaway.
Yep. Yeah, the Stokely Hathaway.
But ironically, when they had the first women's Money in the Bank, and what was that? The no chin guy, whatever.
Ellsworth.
James Ellsworth. When Ellsworth goes up there, grabs it, and gives it to Carmella, they said that didn't count, and they redid the match. So you're already contradicting. What?
I was annoyed when they said it didn't count. Was going to restart it. I popped my ass off for Ellsworth going up and grabbing it and handing it to her. I mean, fuck James Ellsworth. Apparently, he's into like teenagers and shit.
Yeah, he's not a good person.
But there's few times in modern wrestling where you can get actual heat without just doing like cheap heat stuff. And it was the fact that they had the first women's Money in the Bank match, and it's this iconic moment. Having a man climb up and grab the briefcase, like. That is real heat right there. I would have been just as happy with the regular finish and them just, whatever. But that's one of those things where it's like, that's a ballsy call, and I respect the shit out of it.
Yeah. Well, I mean, yeah, and you know, we're gonna talk about AEW in just a second here, guys. I know y'all hanging out, but one thing about the NWO that killed me, you know, and I agree with you 100%, especially when it got to the point where there was more people in the NWO than there was non-NWO WCW members. That's where it got a little crazy.
There was 2 NWOs.
So many they had to make another NWO. You know,
Which
it's like
I was a Wolfpack boy for life.
I was a Wolfpack boy for a while too.
Yeah.
Like look at DX during that same time. The equally, because it's always which is better, DX versus NWO, right? You know, it's kind of an impossible question, but DX was in short breaths, like a month and a half of Triple H and Shawn Michaels, and then Michaels, you know, hurt, he's gone, right? And then it kind of went on the shelf for a hot minute, and then the reforming of it, and that lasted for what? 5-6 months, and then it kind of went, and then they bring it back for like another 3 or 4 months, and they bring, you know, so they never overdid it with like DX in your face or whatever. It always just come back and go away
until like 2006 or 9 or wherever it was, where they started doing the nostalgia runs.
Oh, the nostalgia ones I hated.
Like, guys, you're in your 40s. Maybe stop pointing to your dicks all the time and making
on a PG show making you know, like tit jokes and stuff. It's
no, that was the problem with the Reform DX. They were too old to do the same shit, and the same shit didn't play anymore. Like it's one time years ago, it was probably like 2009-ish. I went to the Houston Rodeo and saw Kiss. And in between, first of all, 3 songs in, their makeup's running off their face because there's all the fire. It's 100 degrees around the stage. And after every single song, they're like, "Do you guys remember this one?" That's what the nostalgia run of DX felt like to me. It was just
it was Kiss in 2009. Gotcha.
Yes.
That's perfect.
Well,
they're still on their nostalgia runs.
They're never gonna get rid of it. And now that Hunter's in charge, you know, every 5 years here comes the DX reunion. Book it. You want to talk about AEW real fast?
Yeah, let's talk a little AEW. So the crowd was excellent tonight.
First
Seattle's
time in the Pacific
been
Northwest.
clamoring for some good wrestling, and I would be remiss if I said they got a good show.
I like the show.
So I do want to talk about one thing, and we're gonna hop around a little bit. The Acclaimed going against Jeff Jarrett and Jay Lethal.
I knew you were gonna start with this too.
Because if you've been paying attention to the internet, ladies and gentlemen, there is some serious beef between one Jeff Jarrett and one Max Caster.
More specifically, one Karen Jarrett and one Max
because
Caster.
of his raps. Like, he does these raps.
Oh, the rap was so good, though. That's such a great
the
diss.
rap tonight.
The Karen
was
Angle
like,
diss, I mean, or the Kurt Angle diss was fantastic.
Oh, man. Like, so Jeff Jarrett on his podcast, like, said he's going to give Max a receipt and it's bullshit and all that. It felt like a shoot. Honestly, more than like he was really pissed because it's Jeff Jarrett. Yeah. Like, it's just one of those things. Like, he only talks if it prints dollar signs.
Oh, he's always working.
Oh, never ever not working. He's like Troy Polamalu.
But the very, very beginning, right after the rap, you saw Max and him exchange some words, and then he literally came out and was going right after Max, and Jay Lethal stopped him. So I felt like there was a bit of legitimacy going on.
Caster is a man who did get suspended before the 21, you know, all out due to some over the line comments and stuff. So
I'm still gonna lean towards it all being a work. Like the have Jeff and Karen Jarrett have been together for like what, a decade now or something. Like,
yeah, Kurt Angle's over. Kurt Angle's remarried with like 3 more kids. He doesn't care.
Yeah, this isn't like a fresh wound or anything.
Right.
Like that's why I know they're working. Like, you are Jeff Jarrett, you are a 50-something-year-old man. Your wife is somewhere around that age. This like 20-something-year-old kid made a passing comment about something that happened a decade ago. you're not really mad about it.
But you saw dollar signs and like, I can make this work.
Absolutely. I know a lot of people have not felt the same way, but I have been 100% behind having Jeff Jarrett in AEW. If I was doing a Mount Rushmore of heels all time, Jeff Jarrett would be on there for me. That's mostly because when I was a kid, I remember in '95, that was one of the few wrestlers I legitimately hated.
Oh,
Slapnuts. Long, even before Slapnuts, long blonde hair with the weird suspender gimmicks, Jeff Jarrett.
Yeah.
Like, that's one of my favorite heels of all time. Give me Jeff Jarrett and Razor Ramon any day of the week, any match they ever had. I'll sit down and watch that shit. That was
okay.
Those were always great. And then with Jeff Jarrett too, it wasn't until the last few years, mostly when it started becoming available on the network and then Peacock and all that, going back and watching his babyface stuff in USWA back in like '93 and stuff like that, working Hot Stuff Eddie Gilbert. There are just some absolute just fire matches they had back then.
He's a guy that I agree with you was never a good babyface.
No, God no.
Even when he was the owner of TNA, and even as the owner trying to be babyface, he was terrible. When he was the dirty heel leader of Team Canada, which made no goddamn sense, he was great, you know. And then
it's not believable.
No,
he's not a believable face.
Right.
Jeff Jarrett has a hateable face and a hateable voice, and it makes me great heel. But
I'm with you.
I never want to see him as a babyface.
Yeah, Jamie's not the biggest fan of Jeff Jarrett.
I understand why AEW got him, because like what he can do for them behind the scenes is way more valuable what he can do in front of the screen. But honestly, this kind of stuff is like making me like, oh, this is the Jeff Jarrett I know and hate. Like in the good way, you know what I mean?
Okay. Yeah, not the just coming in to ruin the company Jeff Jarrett, because there are downsides to Jeff Jarrett for sure. But
everybody's first thought is like, oh shit, Jeff Jarrett's here.
It's like, oh no, the kiss of death.
So what'd you think of the match then, Jamie and Austin? I mean, I liked this match, and I didn't think I was going to. And they're going to rehash it again, you know, next week, of course. But what did you think of the match itself?
I have not seen it yet. I tuned into Dynamite halfway through Swerve and AR Fox.
Okay.
So I got to go back. I'll probably go back tomorrow and watch the rest of the show. Because I heard it was all same thing with Starks and Jericho, because I really want to see that too.
Starks and Jericho was.
We're going to talk about that in just a second.
Yeah, that's my favorite match. But I actually really liked the Acclaim match. It was a lot better than I was expecting it. It had good wrestling moments in it, but I think the story made a lot more sense after tonight's match than it did going into this match.
Yeah, and that's one thing I really like about the Acclaimed is that they are not the tag champs that are there to go have a 5-star match every time.
No.
You got the Bucks for that, and we had that for a long time. They're a nice change of pace for the tag team champions of that company.
Yeah. They're kind of like the New Age Outlaws of this, if you want. I mean, Billy's there, I know, but they kind of are, right? Sell a lot of T-shirts, go have some fun matches and stuff. Progress the company.
So since you haven't watched it, there's just two favorite things out of this entire match for me. Two favorite things. One, they did the Scissor Me Timbers on both of them, which is now my new favorite tag team move currently, because it's just a great fucking name.
Great name.
And then the second one is when they cleared the ring, and here comes Billy with them, and then they did the JJ strut, and then they put it into a scissor. Like they did the scissors out of it. Like that was my favorite part of the whole thing. Like
Billy is living his best life right now.
Yeah, I explained to my daughter, like, because Megan was watching it with me. I was explaining to her, she's like, why do they call him Daddy Ass? I'm like, oh, girl. So back in the 90s, he was a part of DX. She's like, I know about that. He's like, well, once DX was over, he became Mr. Ass. And then Danhausen, like, I was going through this whole thing. It's like, Danhausen's actually the one who coined Daddy Ass. Or, Daddy Ass, because
it was Rod and Todd Ass, the Ass Boys, is thing from his podcast or from his vlog that bled over into AEW. But they were the Ass Boys, and then it's like, Rod and Todd Ass, they're Daddy Ass over there, so that's where Daddy Ass came
like the
from.
first time he said it in front of Billy Gunn, like, was at some kind of convention. He called him that, and like Billy Gunn lost his shit. Like that was the best thing. Like he popped so hard for. He's like, I love it. It's like he totally adopted. Like, yeah, let's call my boys the Ass Boys. Like, let's go.
I love Billy Gunn AEW. It's so great to see him just like having fun, not even really ever having to wrestle, but he's just a good character on the show. Going back to tag teams back in the day, I was a big Smoking Guns fan back in the mid '90s. But yeah, it's wild that in 2023, Billy Gunn is still a very relevant part of weekly TV pro wrestling.
I know. But I mean, that's exactly what AEW needed, somebody to be there. And yes, it has face value and all that. But behind the scenes, he's going over a lot of stuff with them. Hey, kid, this is how that's what they really needed. And, others may or may not played a bigger role in that. But yeah, you're right. Yeah, he is living his best life. I love it.
Yeah. Well, it's like having Jarrett there too. Like there's matches in AEW that are going to be the 5-star spot fest that like they're just going to slap. They're going to be great, but you can't only have that. If that's all you got, you don't have a full wrestling show.
No, you could do
you need the damn near 60-year-old guy scissoring with the young hot tag team. And same thing with like, having Jeff Jarrett there, like, mix it up with a little bit of old like Mid-South style of wrestling and stuff. Wrestling is at its best when it's a variety show. When you get something a little bit different every segment. I love the good 5-star, everyone does a million moves, kicks out of everything, matches as much as everything else. But I also love the goofy, silly, gimmicky shit too. Yeah. And you got to get those guys that know how to get segments and matches over that aren't just about the moves in the ring.
Yeah, and honestly, the perfect hybrid for what you're saying, like to encapsulate everything you said, Ricky Starks versus Chris Jericho. Because you had a 5-star match on the inside. Like, Chris Jericho is old as hell, but he still puts on a phenomenal match. And Ricky Starks is legit the future of one of the future stars of this business. But then on the outside, you had Magic Man, or Daddy Magic and Cool Hand Angelo, like them doing the slapstick shit on the outside. It was perfect. The perfect harmony of what you're saying. Like, you have the gimmicky fun stuff on the outside, and then you have those guys just putting on a clinic of amazingness on the inside. It was
and match aside, again, because I'm big about this arcs of stuff, right? The more progression of Ricky Starks. Spoiler, Austin, Ricky won.
I've seen the result.
You know the result. Okay, all right. Everybody watching already knows. But so you still have the progression of that. So you have the goal that you wanted and the way that you wanted to do it, and it was just this whole thing was just wrestling 101. The match, like Jamie said, the outside of the ring stuff, fantastic way. And like I said, the crowd was just eating everything out of the palm of their hand all night.
All night, the crowd was super.
I don't think there was a down moment really for the crowd in the show. Like there was like
they were even hyped for the Jade Cargill tag team match.
Yeah, which surprised
that match was okay.
Super loud for Jade too. Like
they love them some Jade. I mean, she's beautiful. But
she is.
I mean, everybody in there.
Like that is a perfectly shaped human being. Like no one should be allowed to be like that well built.
I know,
but
they're
perfect.
They've also put her on a pedestal. This is my issue. They put her on a pedestal too much, and she doesn't have the wrestling chops to fully back that up.
Why does everybody say I put it on a pedestal?
What does that mean? So it's like somebody said that in a dealer call that I had today, Jamie. It took all of my being not.
They quoted the 40-year-old version on a dealer call.
Oh, no. The dealer said it unknowingly. So you're taking this, you're putting it up on a pedestal, and I don't really understand what that means. And I'm sitting there like, it wasn't my call. I was just listening in on it. I was just, sorry, we're talking about work here, not work.
Sorry. Yes.
I love Jade, but I also can't stand what they've done with her. I hate the long-term undefeated streaks.
Absolutely.
Yeah, she needs to lose.
She has to lose, but now she can't just lose. It has to be a big thing, right? So you fucked yourself. You've written yourself into a corner, you know?
I think they dropped the ball when they didn't have Willow beat her months back. That was when like the undefeated streak was still, I mean, it wasn't new, but it was still new enough that like it's more interesting. But now, like, I think after tonight it showed she was 47 in a row. Who cares now? Like, okay,
it doesn't matter.
Not only does she keep winning, but she's not going out there and beating Britt Baker, Toni Storm. Like, she's not regularly working their top talents.
Exactly.
And I think if they would have had Willow beat her for the title, it would have been a surprise. No one was expecting it. Willow Nightingale is a star. That is someone that, like, you could have never seen any pro wrestling just be flipping through the channel on a random Wednesday night. You see Willow, you're like, oh, I get that. I support her. That's a star right there. But yeah, like, what's it really going to mean when someone beats Jade now? Like,
well, they gotta have there's got to be a story with it there. I'll let you go to a second, Jamie, because you know this, but my long-term thought always had been you should have kept it in there and you could have intertwined it, kept coming back to it, and eventually you could have her drop this way if you would have kept Ruby Soho, Ruby, in the picture. She beat Ruby for the TBS title at the initial thing. Ruby's main shtick is basically everybody loves her. She's super over everywhere she goes, but she never's won the big title, right? You know? So she was up against Jade. Jade got the title. Fine. I understand why they did it. I agree with that, even though it was against my girl, right? But if you would have just kept it, and you didn't have to keep her in there the whole time, you immediately took Ruby out of that, and it was like, and Jade hasn't had a second thought about Ruby since then. And yes, Ruby got hurt, and she was out for a while. I know. But you could have kept that storyline going and had it be a long-term thing as something to, like, eventually she can lose the title to Ruby, and it would make sense. Now you've got to build a story around somebody, whether it be Willow, Red Velvet, Ruby, whoever else, right? For her to lose this, because or it's just got to be completely random.
Yeah, and it's at the point now where if you are going to build that story, you got to take time to build that story. And now you have more weeks of her just being undefeated. Like, after a while, if they're undefeated, it stops being interesting. Like, it's got to be short enough to make it mean something when they finally lose, or else you lose all interest. I don't know what they're doing. I love watching Jade wrestle. Like, I'll watch her matches all the time.
I get it. She's the girl you put on your poster. I understand that. Trust me.
So let me put on my Mark Stradamus hat, because Mark Stradamus has been on fire lately. Like, you gotta admit, I've been on point.
You've been pretty hot.
So with the sudden announcement that Toni Storm is gonna be Saraya's tag team partner, that leaves one thing and one thing only left for me. Bow Wow needs somebody to go up against Jade. Who better than Mercedes Mone to take that title off of her quickly?
I agree.
Her first night there, she could take it off of her. Then it'll still keep Jade looking strong because it's freaking Sasha Banks. You know, like that's your ultimate win, because then she doesn't lose anything as long as they don't make it a squash match, which they better not. And it wouldn't be believable because of the size of Jade. You know, you do that, and I think it's a win-win for everybody. Then the streak's over. Then you can have her do other things, and then you legitimize the TBS title for a while because you have these other people doing the AEW women's title, and then you have, you know, Mercedes, who's apparently confirmed to be signed with AEW, even though we'll
wait and see about that.
Yeah, I'm afraid to call that, but I'm just saying, like, that makes a lot of sense.
I agree with you a lot more on that. I think that does make a lot more sense.
That does make sense. I think if Mercedes Mone is for sure gonna be there, I would say. And even if she's not, I've got a feeling that Toni Storm does not end up tagging with Saraya next week.
I had the same feeling.
Sheeta looked beside herself. There's something afoot.
I think they're trying to swerve, which it gets a little tricky because if you have someone like Mercedes Mone showing up, you typically want to advertise that ahead of time. But then again, they didn't do that for CM Punk, but you knew he was going to be there.
Right.
And I think we might see more stuff trickle out over the next week where we know for a fact Mercedes Mone is going to be there. Something where Sheeta's pissed off. She jumps Toni Storm in the back. Saraya now doesn't have a partner. Bam, there's Mercedes Mone. That seems more like the classic wrestling booking and like the good classic wrestling booking where you get what you want in a way you weren't expecting. That's where I would go with it, assuming Mercedes Mone is actually going to be there.
I think we're going on that assumption pretty hard. Me and Jamie have been on this train for a few weeks that she is going to be in AEW, at least temporarily or part-time or whatever.
That's the other thing, too, with having her come beat Jade and put the TBS title on there. I would imagine she's going to be part-time. Like, she seems someone that very much is trying to also do things outside of wrestling as well, which is great for her. Like, absolutely, go make your money elsewhere as well. And don't sit there and bump every week. So if she's not going to be there every week, if she's not going to be regularly appearing on the show, you just kind of disappeared your second women's title, and you already don't do anything with any of the women that aren't Britt Baker, Saraya, or anyone in that immediate orbit. Like,
is that a bad thing though? If you don't totally disappear, but you shelve it, it becomes like a more random thing. I don't think that's a bad thing because now you can actually build stories.
Yeah, but you can build stories around the TBS title. Well, you just have to build stories around the TBS. Like, the option's been there. There's nothing stopping them. They just haven't.
Yeah. So one thing about Sheeta I do want to call out, and I noticed it the last time she was on TV, and I also saw her on Dark. I've watched a couple of her Dark matches.
Is darkness.
She's wearing black. Remember how I called that out?
You called that out in her title match.
Yeah. I'm like, she's never worn black ever, and she's been a face the entire time. She's always wore silver, white, some kind of variant. So that actually adds a lot of weight to what you're saying right now, Austin, is the fact that she's wearing black. She's going to become a Dark Sheeta, which I'm in. Heel Sheeta just...
Hashtag heel Sheeta.
Yeah, hashtag heel Sheeta. My God.
You can roll right into a whole program with heel Sheeta and Toni Storm, and that would be just
perfect.
Give me that 5 nights a week. Yes, let's go.
Yeah.
And then you have different things, and then you could have Saraya and Britt still doing their thing, or Saraya and Jamie Hayter, which I'm not ready for.
Well, I don't think you're going to get that, but I think you've got, because you got Hayter, and Hayter proved this last week with her match against Sheeta, that Hayter can stand up on her own and go in her own direction without Britt as a crutch or anybody else. So you can start to do that more. You could bring in, I don't know, maybe Ruby finally gets a shot. Who knows, right? Willow super over, like you said, Austin, right? Mm-hmm. Willow and Jamie Hayter, I want to see that match as often as possible too, right?
That match would fuck.
Sky Blue's getting big push, right? Continue this narrative.
But here's my little piece about Mercedes with the thought process that we have right now.
Okay.
Is that she shows up and she is the tag partner. She's not coming in to play second fiddle to anybody. Like, the money that they're going to pay her is gobs of money. And you just put the belt on Jamie Hayter. And if you know if they put Mercedes versus Hayter, that belt's dropping. Like, it's just, that's the thing.
Yeah.
With Mercedes, the belt's dropping. I feel like it's safer for them to do that with Jade.
Because Jade doesn't lose
anything for Jade
by losing.
It's not
Mercedes.
time for Jamie. Yes, she doesn't lose anything. Like,
that being said, one thing, and this actually rolls into something that I really appreciate about AEW, is that they only have pay-per-views like once a quarter. Yes. So if you have Mercedes Mone debut as the second partner, she pins Jamie Hayter in the tag match. You don't have to pay that off and have Jamie drop the title until you get to, I think it's Revolution or whatever. The next one. It's like March.
In March.
Like, you are 3 months away. And especially if you have someone like Mercedes that's maybe not going to be there every week, you can still have Jamie getting defenses in along the way, having a nice little run. But at a certain point too, like Mercedes Mone is a bigger star than anyone you have in that division. She just is.
Yeah.
And I don't think Jamie Hayter loses anything dropping the title to her. She gets a good, 6 months or whatever it is from Full Gear or whatever it was she wanted until Revolution. You get your money run from Mercedes Mone, and then you circle back to Jamie Hayter later. Or Jamie Hayter, after she drops the title, ends up becoming a TBS champion. And then maybe you've got someone with a little bit higher work rates with that secondary belt as well, if, Mercedes isn't going to be there every week. So, I mean, there's, like I said, I really appreciate that they only do quarterly pay-per-views, and it makes their weekly TV, especially that they do, like, the theme nights and the Battle of the Belts and all that.
Mm-hmm.
It very much reminds me of, like, the early 90s WCW. Not that I watched at the time, but because it's all available on the internet, I've watched through all of it. Back when you didn't necessarily have a pay-per-view every month. You had a couple big shows a year, but you had a Clash of the Champions every, couple months or something like that. It makes it interesting, but even just the fact that there are interesting possibilities in general when their women's division's been pretty stagnant for some time, like it's exciting.
I'm with you. I think I'm really excited to see what happens after next week. So you guys join in as well. Give a comment down below. Give us your Mercedes Mone prediction. Are we way off? She's not going to show up at all. Give us your prediction.
I highly doubt that.
I 100% doubt that. Well, she's confirmed. She's confirmed to continue in New Japan. She's going to wrestle Kairi for the IWGP title in San Jose, February.
Yeah,
I think so.
Maybe I think February. Soon.
Yeah, very very soon.
Soon.
If she is in fact not showing up, and after 4 to 6 weeks of kind of running this, who's going to be Saraya's tag partner, they just casually the week before in a segment is like, oh, Tony Storm, you're pretty good at this. We're partners now, and that's that seems like such a letdown that it makes it harder to believe that there isn't a swerve coming next week.
The only other swerve that I could see happening there that would fill the shoes would be, I don't think she's ready to come back, but if the same thing happens, Sheeta jumps Tony and you have Thunder Rosa come out.
Yeah.
I don't think she's ready to come back.
I don't think Statlander's ready to come back either, but I think that would be a good spot to bring her back if she was. But even then, none of those options are going to be the payoff. At this point, the crowd wants it, and if you weren't going to give it to him next week, I don't think he would set up by naming a tag partner this week.
Right.
Yeah. Good point.
But we will see. I'm gonna I always enjoy in wrestling and I tune in as often as I can. I just love watching wrestling in general, but it's rare that there's stuff that I'm like, oh, I legitimately want to tune in and see this. Also, quick aside to next week's Dynamite, Bryan Danielson and Takashita. Oh, get that straight into my fucking veins.
Yes.
Give me that. That better open the show.
Takeshita is the future. The first time I watched that guy wrestle, I remember you and I talked about it, I melted.
We were like, who is this kid?
Baby Okada. Who's Baby Okada? It's exactly, I kept calling him Baby Okada. That's what he is.
It's ridiculous that he's going to end up being AEW champion. And I think sooner rather than later, not sooner as in imminently, but I think he's going to.
In the next couple of years, I'm with you. Yeah. Yeah. He's got to develop his character a little deeper, right? But he's officially signed. And think about this in a couple years, because there was a talent who made their AEW TV debut tonight, a contracted talent, Mr. Nick Wayne, who is on a futures contract with AEW, was in the front row, of course, of the main event and everything. But just think, in a couple years on TV, you can turn it on Wednesday night or hop on for Double or Nothing or whatever and see Takeshita, Nick Wayne.
I want Takeshita MJF.
I
in
know,
the hardest possible way.
I'm looking further out, like Austin's saying here.
I think if you played it right and you booked Takeshita properly over the next 9 or so months, I think he could be the next champion. Because they're going to give MJF a lengthy run with that title.
I'm with
he deserves it.
But that being said, and this could just be me. I am personally not a big MJF guy. I get I see the talent, just doesn't really do anything for me, even as a heel.
Okay.
I think his reign is gonna lose steam as time goes on.
It's kind of a one-string banjo, right?
Yeah, it's I really thought it would have been interesting if they would have swerved it and he wouldn't have won the title in the first place. Give him some adversity, because MJF largely, outside of a few select spots, things have always gone pretty well for him in AEW. He hasn't faced a lot of real adversity. I mean, obviously he got squashed by Wardlow, which was the perfect way to do that match. And I enjoy pro wrestling when even your top guys, they have not necessarily a weakness, but there's someone that just has their number. And why wouldn't the smarmy, shitty heel not just get bulldozed by the fucking meat house with all the charisma that is just going to powerbomb you 8 fucking times and pin you? And that doesn't mean Wardlow can beat everybody on the roster, but should he be able to kick the shit out of MJF? Absolutely. And I love that. And I know part of it was probably the whole contract dispute and all that. And you kind of knew it was coming, but yeah, just seeing Wardlow just go out there and truck him, great. MJF loses nothing. You now make a star in Wardlow. We'll ignore the fact that then they did nothing with him for 6 months afterwards. But at the moment, that was the perfect move. But it would have been interesting to see MJF get that close when you knew he was going to win and then fail. And then with the reaction the crowd has, don't turn him full face, but have him work the guy. You could still have him still be MJF, but still the guy the crowd starts kind of getting behind over time, kind of rebuild him up and then give him the title later on. Because I was glad to see Ricky Starks face him. I've known Ricky Starks since he was 19 years old. We're not best friends or anything like that, but I was wrestling him when he was coming up in Texas a fucking decade ago. Love seeing him succeed. He deserves it. That kid has been, we all knew. That, granted, earlier on, he was 19 at the time. Most 19-year-olds, it's kind of a pain in the ass. But the talent was there. Great seeing that. But how many big feuds with MJF is there to really look forward to? He kind of needs a really important babyface to make his matches interesting. Even building up to him and Danielson. It's cool seeing Danielson in there. Danielson's not beating MJF for the title.
It's filler.
Everything's gonna seem filler. And I think over time, it's going to become almost the, not as bad, but the Britt Baker reign again, where it was rinse and repeat. Now with Britt, it was just, okay, the other two girls are going to cheat and she's going to win. How long can that be sustained? And like the thing with MJF, he'll find a shitty way to win. And that's, I don't think it works in his case. My favorite heel title run, maybe of all time, just off the top of my head, was JBL's after he beat Eddie for the title. And it was the guy that you didn't think could actually beat anybody, and you absolutely hated. You never wanted to see him succeed. That worked when he kept finding ways to escape with the fucking title.
Yeah.
Someone like MJF, he's over with the crowd. They like him. They love to boo him, but they like him. So how long can you enjoy just keep watching him just find shitty ways to win that are the thing with Starks? It was just a kick to the nuts and a roll up. Give me something a little bit more innovative if you're going to do that. Okay. And if you're already just going to a square kick to the junk, what more do you have in the tank to keep that interesting over a long time?
Well, Jamie, why don't you go first here? Because I know you have lots of things to say about MJF in general.
Yeah, I love me some MJF. I think he is a generational heel in a lot of aspects. I agree. They probably shouldn't have put the belt on him so soon, especially when he came back and the crowd was starting to get behind him. To your point, I think they could have really elongated that and taken that out a long way, and maybe had the payoff at Revolution. But the thing is there was a lot of uncertainty with the CM Punk piece, so they kind of they got fast tracked because the CM Punk MJF
they could have run that for
amazing.
6 months easily.
Yeah,
absolutely.
So this is filler with Bryan, and I'm here for it because I love me some Bryan Danielson. I think he's one of the greatest wrestlers that's currently living. But like their little spat, their monologues, if you will, to quote Shannon Sharp this morning. But
I never thought I'd hear you quote Shannon Sharp. Wow.
Hey, I'm full on fuck Skip Bayless. But anyway,
I'm with you there.
So anyway, I thought their whole thing was great. The crowd was really behind it and everything like that. I do agree this could be filler. So I'm trying to figure out who's the long play. Like, who's he going to drop it to at All Out? Who's he going to drop it to at Revolution? Because he's not going to have it forever, but he's going to have a nice, healthy 6, 8, 9, 10, 11-month run. Something around there. So I'm playing chess with this. Like, okay, we don't know if Adam Cole's going to be back, but when he comes back, if he's able to come back, he's going to come back to a hero's
If
welcome.
he is. It's looking...
And it'd be an instant face thing. Now, we understand that Death Triangle and the Elite are going at it, but Kenny Omega is looking very facey right now. Is he going to be the long-term play? That makes a lot of sense. Is it going to be Adam Hangman Page, who, with that promo with him and Mox was perfect. Like, I'm going to knock your dick in the dirt. Come on now. Like, that just sung to me. But there's like, what's the long-term play to your point, and how long can he be sustained? Like, he needs a stable. Does he need a stable in order to succeed? Does he find more innovative ways to overcome things instead of the damn diamond ring and kicking people in the junk? Like, to your point, like, he's got to find different ways. I agree.
And I think my take on it, and the reason I use the run string banjo thing, and not necessarily in a bad light, because right now, like you said, yes, there's filler. I think the CM Punk thing was a giant wrench in the MJF plans, right? Because they definitely were working that, and they were going to keep working that because that's easy money to print, right? You could put that match on that's easy to sell, right? And who knows? There are some who definitely don't, and some who definitely do want CM Punk back when he's healthy. I'm not going to pretend to even have an inkling of knowledge either way. I don't care at this point. I've moved past the fuck CM Punk for life stage. I'm like, whatever. If he shows back up, cool. If he doesn't, cool. Right? I think that I think the strokes are very wet, but they're starting to be painted. Because if you were to take a step out and let's hop in my DeLorean and go forward about 14 months here. Let's take a look at what happens there. I think that the ideal end result that TK is looking for is Starks putting him on the mantle as a top babyface, and he's getting over pretty good right now. Can he continue that going on long forward? I believe he can. I think he's got the chops and the wrestling skill to do that, and people like him. Okay. Wardlow's super over, even though he is a big hulking meaty monster or whatever. That's this one move. But he showed in his match last week that he can actually get out there and he can perform. He can do some stuff, right? He did the whole haircut thing after Samoa Joe. So, hey, maybe
he's going to be repackaged into an amazing heel.
A whole new Wardlow. But you got Wardlow built in with that. I think you've got pieces, and I think it's one of those you might be looking to the future a little soon, but at some point you have to look to the future, right? You can't count on Moxley Claudio Castagnoli, Jericho, Jeff Jarrett, and Billy Gunn to be your company forever, right? You got all this young talent. You got to do what WCW never did, which was take the young talent and move them all into the front line. That's what WWE did, and that's why they won. I mean, there's a lot of other reasons why they won, but you know what I mean, right? You know, Rock, Stone Cold, Triple H. You know, Jamie and I make this comparison all the time, Austin. Who is the AEW version of that? We believe MJF's one of them. Who is else going to be up there with them? I think they're starting to paint the strokes, but I don't think it'll flush itself out till Double or Nothing at the soonest, right? So, yeah, you might have some stagnant time in the middle here where it is a one-string banjo.
Yeah, I could definitely see them using Paige and Wardlow in the meantime for pretty interesting stories, just for MJF to beat them.
Right.
You could get 2 pay-per-view main events out of those. If I was booking it, MJF, when you're ready to take the title off of him, Starks circles back, Starks takes the belt, but Starks has a very short reign. And then whatever heel you're building up takes that belt right off of him, and then you turn Ricky Starks heel again. Because, like, his babyface run now is great. That man was made to be a heel.
Oh,
like,
100%.
So much better as a heel. Right around the time that you've kind of peaked with him as a heel, have him circle back at that big win just to make him a star, and then take it right back off of him and move along to whoever the guy is next. And I think MJF losing to Ricky Starks when it circles back doesn't do anything to MJF. I'm not sure how many other people MJF dropping it to does it actually make sense. Like it's a good way to build another star and then have him transition it right to the next. Same thing like when they used to every once in a while, the small handful of times where they put the belt on Mick Foley for like 2 weeks.
Yeah.
He was never going to have it for long, but it kept him at the top of your card. Not that Ricky Starks is a Mick Foley type guy, but that's a great way to give him that little bit of rub. Because, yeah, Ricky Starks is a guy for the future. Probably not a guy you need carrying your company right now. He's damn close. But that was one thing I noticed when I watched the MJF Ricky Starks match. It was a good match. I enjoyed it. I liked both the characters. It didn't necessarily feel like your main heavyweight championship match. I think it's just they're both so young.
It felt like one that will be. But
yes, absolutely.
It was that grapefruit that's not quite ripe, right?
Yeah, like give me that in like 3 years and we're fucking printing money. And 3 years is just a ballpark thing, whatever. But yeah, like they both just looked so young in the ring. And not like children, but like they didn't look like the two guys at the very top of your card just yet. But you can set them up. It
wasn't Danielson Omega in New York.
Right. And so but I mean it is great that they are just featuring young talent. And just that with all the names they bring in, they're not just, burying the guys that they're trying to build that didn't come from elsewhere. So
exactly. All right. Any final thoughts on Dynamite?
Oh, yeah, Darby Allin won.
Oh, Darby Allin won the TNT title in a Darby Allin match.
Yeah, Darby Allin's another one that I don't personally get. I understand.
We don't either.
I hate saying this as someone that is on the smaller side. I'm not a small person, but on the smaller side of the pro wrestling scape. Darby Allin is just too damn small. Like, I thought the match with Samoa Joe was good, but it's just so hard to the believability is compromised. Watching Darby Allin get the shit kicked out by Samoa Joe, but still be able to, fire up and beat him at the end. I get that's like what pro wrestling is supposed to be. I don't get Darby. I don't get annoyed when they put Darby over because the AEW crowd largely loves and gets Darby. I just personally don't. And also, sign me up for every week of watching Samoa Joe just beat the shit out of people because that's my kind of wrestling.
I've lived on that since 2002. I mean,
yeah. And we've talked about Darby so much. He only has one match, He only does one match. That's it. And it's like all these other younger guys are starting to show range and show that they can do different pacing and stuff like that. He's the one-trick pony. Now, to your point, MJF, now that I'm thinking about it, is starting to become that. Like, he has the same arc in all of his matches. And it's like he builds it fairly well, but he usually starts off almost too slow for me. But then he builds up fine. Like Ricky Starks, I think he puts together a really good match. But Darby is just like, hey, you just want to beat the shit out of me for 95% of this match, and I'll find some way to hit a coffin drop 1, 2, 3. Okay, that sounds good. Like that's it.
And like with Darby too, I hate listening to him talk. Like every promo has the same.
He should never talk. His shtick is great. If he's like, you got Sting right fucking there. Take a book out of his page and don't talk. You're better when you don't talk. You're artsy. You do all the good. I get it. Okay, cool. The girls love you. Fine. You're a cute emo boy. Gotcha. Right. His best match he's ever did was that match they did against Team Taz, the cinematic inside the warehouse. That was fantastic. It fit his. Cool. Right. And you can be a shtick one-trick pony and still be a main factor in the company, right? It's not it's not champion, goddammit. I don't.
Yeah, and the other thing too is like you've had Darby have the TNT title before. Darby is at that point where he is not going to get any more or less over. Darby is what he is.
Yeah,
your crowd's going to tune in. Your crowd's largely going to like him. They're going to pop for him. They're going to buy his merch. Why does he need to be the TNT champion right now when you have a ton of other people on the roster that could have got a big rub from beating Samoa Joe? No one was that surprised that Darby beat Samoa Joe. Like, thought it was a possibility, and that's why it was probably, like, to me, it was the wrong move. Like, make me give a shit. Like I said, the match was solid. I enjoyed the match, but, like, all right, what is there to enjoy about a Darby TNT title run in 2023?
Unless it involves Miro taking it off him again, not much.
I would tune in for that.
I would tune in. Jamie and I have been clamoring for Miro Joe.
Speaking of Miro, if you were gonna take the TNT title off of Joe, that's the fucking
Miro.
Guy.
That's the guy.
And that's a match you put on at Revolution, because that match was tear the roof off.
Oh. Yeah, fucking give me Joe and Miro one-on-one.
Or Joe and Black. Joe and Malachi. Oh my God. That would
be great.
That would be sick as hell. Like anybody other than fucking Darby Allin.
Shit, Wardlow last week I would have taken over Darby Allin. You know?
Like you've got so many options. But same thing, like I know they kind of did the swerve turning on him and stuff, but Keith Lee and Joe. Like, you can't give us that.
Swerve and Joe.
There were so many better options for someone to go out there. And because that's the thing, too. Like, okay, Joe hits his head on the buckle. Darby hits a couple coffin drops. All right, crowd popped. And I get it. You're in Seattle. They like it. You kind of took the easy finish. And I get sending the crowd home happy. But there was just so many better stories to tell. And just think about Joe continuing that reign by beating guys like Miro, Ward. Like, give me the fucking Joe versus Monsters tour and then have someone that you never expect beat Joe, or one of those monsters not only beat Joe, but beat the shit out of Joe. Like, you don't see that. Outside of, like, Joe and Kobayashi is probably about the only one I've seen where Joe, like, an ass whooped.
Yeah.
I guess Brock too, but that was just kind of whatever it was.
That's Brock.
I count that.
Yeah, just missed opportunity. But I mean,
you could have like, I like that long term, and maybe you do Jungle Boy, give him a title reign, right? Okay, cool, right? Because that's a similar thing, but it's
give me Joe versus Luchasaurus.
Oh yeah, there's so many options.
There's so many, and you can still do those matches. But they're more important, they're more interesting with that title on the line. And you could have a long run from just a dominant, because it's the TNT title, but it is a television title. You could have Joe defending every week against just monster after monster and just going out there and killing it for 20 minutes.
I still going to stick to my guns that I believe Joe is slated for ROH, and they're going to be doing something ROH TV wise, probably on HBO Max. Who knows, right? But you know that there's a group of people that they have that are on the roster that are really only there to be ROH guys. And Tony's pulled the ROH off of TV a lot, right? They're no longer having ROH titles and Riccaboni and all. Cool, good. I like that. I think that if that's the case, let's get that decision out of the way. So we don't have to include Joe in our fantasy booking here, because right now it's too good to have him as the TNT champion, like you said.
And that's right? Too. Like, I mean, he hasn't had the title for that long, and the Joe stuff on TV has been great.
Joe's always great. Joe's a solid. You know what you're getting with Joe, and it's good every time.
Yeah, and it's been so nice to see Joe have this run after like kind of the end of the WWE run where they didn't do much and he wasn't really used, and obviously he was hurt for a long time and all that. But it's been great to get a nice little kind of victory lap of Samoa Joe just murdering motherfuckers.
I know. I would love to see him and Lance Archer, because you don't get to see Lance Archer very often. But that match right there, that might be the guy. Like, Lance Archer has been arguably the biggest disappointment in AEW. You know, like, he's the murder hawk. He should have came in and murdered people. Like, maybe that's the guy who came in and just surprisingly just beat the shit out of Samoa Joe for the title. No one would see that coming.
But it would make sense. Years.
So, I think, like, that's not bad. I don't know. I know he was briefly re-signed to WWE for a while. I don't know what he's doing now. But bring in fucking Harry Smith and give me Harry Smith versus fucking Joe.
Okay.
I would be in on that.
Harry's one that, outside of like the Killer Elite Squad stuff in Japan, like, you didn't really get a good run with him in front of an American audience. And that's a dude, like, one, he's a giant motherfucker and he can go. I think that's a guy you could bring into AEW to work some of these guys, like especially some of these bigger guys that would get interest from the crowd. And you would be surprised because you didn't know, because you haven't seen him wrestling forever, like how good he is.
Right. You wouldn't have to resort to Darby being Brody King or some bullshit, right? You know, you can actually have like good matches with monsters. Well, that was Dynamite, guys. We shall see next week with LA what's going to go on. It's going to be big show. Escalera de la Muerte. Give me that. Whatever happens, Mercedes Mone, if she shows up, how she shows up, one way or another. You got dream match between Takeshka and Danielson. Tons of stuff going on. So we'll have plenty more next week there. This was good fun though, having Austin on. I think we're gonna have you on again, you know, kind of you know, we haven't had the greatest run in, you know, we had a third wheel for a while, and we love our young boy, but you know,
he was a young boy for a reason.
He's a young boy for a reason. So, but this was good fun. I enjoyed having you there. And
I'm always down to sit in and just talk about pro wrestling.
Well, that's what we like.
Great.
You see, I'll make sure to include his information down below, but you do see, of course, there his Twitter on the screen for those of you who are watching. Go follow Austin on Twitter. He'll let you know where he's performing. He is even though he's a smaller guy, as he likes to say, you're not that small.
Smaller for pro wrestling.
Smaller for pro wrestling.
Above average size for just people.
Definitely go check him out if he is performing at a venue near you. Austin, do you have any final words you want to say before we sign off for the evening?
Yeah, so speaking of Twitter really quick, I had my first viral tweet a few days ago.
Ooh.
Yeah, the atomic drop.
Yes. I was watching they put on WWF Championship Wrestling from 1980. I think they only put in like 10 episodes. So I put it on, and like the second episode in, there is a little person tag match. I don't know if you can still call them midgets in 2023.
You can't.
That being said, like the actual midget wrestlers call themselves that because I've worked with midget wrestlers on shows. But I want to be respectful. I don't want to call anyone anything they want to be called. So we'll call them the little person. There's a tag match, and I think it's the second episode. I think it's like March 8th, 1980. not only, and so the spot is this dude does an atomic drop where he lifts the other guy over with one hand by the trunks, walks across and like throws him up and gives him the coolest atomic drop I've ever seen in my life. I put it on the internet because it popped the shit out of me. I want to say the tweet got, because they started putting views on Twitter, got to like 100,000 views. But the match itself is just a dope tag team match. They are out for work, and they go like 12 minutes, and it is just it's 1980. It's the time where like guys are taking 3 seconds to bump after they take a shoulder tackle. Then you've got these little people going out there and just tearing it down. They mix in some of the comedy spots, some good wrestling and all that. Go out of your way to watch that match. And then one other thing before we leave, I do have to mention, while we were talking about wrestling that happened this week, the most important wrestling show that's happened this week over in Japan, Tokyo Joshi Princess Wrestling 23, new one half of the Tokyo Joshi Princess Wrestling Tag Team Champions, my wife, Miss Heidi Howitzer, took home international gold. I saw TJPW for the first time like a month ago.
Oh, really? Okay.
I was not very familiar with it. And as y'all have heard me talk, I prefer the more old school style stuff. I still like all pro wrestling, but I prefer like give me something from like 1985 through 1995. That's my bread and butter.
Yeah, Joshi and Mid South aren't on the same level.
Yeah.
So,
the Joshis that they have that like can fucking go there. Like they'll put on some heat.
Mm-hmm.
But the comedy matches in TJPW had me in fucking tears. Hyper Masao is my new favorite pro wrestler.
Oh,
like she rides her little bike she ran over a girl with her bike last night during the middle of the match. They did a ladder match. Like Wrestle Universe, it's $5 for a subscription. They might even have a free trial. If you go watch that show back, it has English commentary. They did a ladder match where there were 3 rabbits hanging from the gimmick. And one of them was the prize that said you win. The other 2 were random stipulations that changed the match. And so, like, at one point, the first one that gets pulled down, they go, this is now a lumberjack ladder match. And, like, 4 Joshis with bunny ears and mallets for some reason come out. And then when they get thrown out, they're hitting them with the, like...
Oh, it's fantastic.
It is the least serious pro wrestling, and to me, pro wrestling is damn near at its best when it is silly for no fucking reason. So that's the other thing I want to say. If you got some time,
yes,
go watch TJP, go watch old TJPW, and like just enjoy it. It's just there to be entertainment, and it's phenomenal.
You see, we found Tokyo Joshi Pro because when we were researching when AEW had that, Japan versus America tournament, we were researching the girls. That's when we found our spirit animal, Maki Ito, for the first time. And I like Jamie. This is the one. You need to look her. It's because he researched half of it. I researched the other half, and I got to research Maki, and I'm like, Jamie, I'm telling you, it's her. She does a lion tamer. Jamie was all aboard. But she wrestled a lot in Tokyo Joshi Pro. So she was in a battle royal last night. Well, it was kind of like there was only like 6 of them in it, but they did the staggered entrances. But it was over the top pin or submission. It came down to her and some other girl. I don't remember her name. But the end of that, like their one-on-one stuff at the end was just like really good pro wrestling. I did not get Maki Ito when they brought her to AEW a while back. I did not get her outside the context of TJPW. But then after watching that, like, yeah, I enjoy Maki Ito. they're all characters. Like it's great. It's all about the characters. There is fire ass pro wrestling. And then there's just comedy shit that you would never see anywhere else. Like people getting... So Hyper Masao, one of her gimmicks is she pulls out the bucket and it's full of kaiju toys. Right.
And so like slam somebody, it's a bunch of Godzilla toys. And last night I got my favorite pro wrestling call of all time. The girl she was wrestling stood the Mecha Godzilla toy up vertically to slam her on it. And the fucking announcer just goes, "Oh no, not on vertical Mecha Godzilla." if you like serious pro wrestling, you will hate TJPW outside the main events because they're great pro wrestling. But if you enjoy comedy and silly shit, it is phenomenal.
Well, big congratulations to Heidi and to Max as well. They won as they're the other half.
Tell y'all, Heidi did say to tell y'all hello. So once she gets back in a week or so, you'll have to have her stop by and talk about her adventures in Japan.
Absolutely.
We were trying to get the War Party together on the show, but Max is kind of hard to pin down, and she's not much of a talker. So
yeah, Max is not a person of many words. Lots of drugs.
But I think that'd be even better to just have like Max just sitting there looking angrily at us, wanting to eat my soul, while Heidi just da 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 da.
But Leon too. Leon be a good guy to have on as well. He's just a fun dude to talk about. He's another guy that just likes pro wrestling. Likes to just sit down and talk about it. I think you get some pro wrestlers that just hate wrestling for some reason.
I hear.
And they just want to shit on everything. And why do you do this if you don't enjoy it?
I know, I don't get that, but we'll definitely. So we're gonna have Austin back. We're gonna try and get some. We'll have Heidi when she's back in town as well. We'll try and get her on here as well as others. Please go check out Tokyo Joshi Pro. Follow Austin, follow Heidi as well. Links down below for everything, so you don't have to worry about it. Jamie, any final thoughts?
This was a long one, but a great one.
I know. Thank you for those of you. We do appreciate you guys for, once again, if you stuck around to the end here, thank you for listening. Thank you for watching. We will be back next week. Same bad time, same bad channel. See what goes on in LA. See what else is happening around the world of wrestling. Jamie, take us home, man.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, if you're not down until Spotfest, I got 3 words for you. Fuck Skip Bayless.
All right, guys. We'll see you next time.
Later.